I'm Dan, and this is 10,000 Hours of Indie, a podcast exploring new music and delving deeper into what goes on in the background of the independent music industry. I'm a musician and passionate music lover, and I wanted to delve deeper into new music in the independent scene around the world. I also saw this as a chance to help artists connect and share their stories, so if there's someone you hear and you want to find out more about, every podcast has links in the show description. Get involved, help this community grow, follow on the 10,000 Hours of Indie socials, you can find all the links in the show description. And also feel free to email me about anything music related, 10,000indie@gmail.com. I'm open to any ideas and love listening to your promos. Leto Grand is Carl Davies, a London-based independent funk-pop artist and multi-instrumentalist. Performing as a seven-piece band, Leto Grand fuses funk, indie, house and ska, creating a sound reminiscent of Talking Heads and Dury. After 6 years, the debut album is ready for release, and with the current single Lovely Walk Grace Edit released earlier in the month, I wanted to quiz the brain behind the music. Leto, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Daniel. Hi. Thank you.
So let's start at the beginning. What was your starting point with Leto Grand?
Well, I think I had a previous incarnation called Hornman. That's Hornman. I used to live in a commune in Bethnal Green, and a landlord let me build a shed studio and a garden there. And just for a few years before COVID, I was writing and kind of jamming with with this previous lineup and writing all the material and gigging out as well, gigging out in London, and we gigged Boomtown and Why Not, and we got around kind of around the southwest of the country, and then COVID kind of hit, and we stopped gigging out, lost a couple of band members, but I started producing stuff out in earnest at that point. I think I maybe produced an EP before. I found a new producer, or rather he found me, called Gary Bardwee, and during sort of the next five, 6 years, we just really worked to actually hone the album down, and just coming out the other end of that process, really realising I wanted to present myself, because obviously I've written the tunes. That's when I called myself Leto Grand. It's kind of at the other end of that process, having completed the album and a couple of other tracks as well.
So where did the name come from?
I've had various mates over the years calling me Carlito, and one of them in particular calls me Leto. And in the process of the writing, I wrote this track, which actually hasn't made onto the album. It's called Classic Grand. I was just playing around with names, really, one day, and just Leto Grand, and it just instantly, I just thought, oh yeah, that feels right. I suppose the process of writing the album, and it took time to produce that, working on the vocal and really kind of refining all the parts down, and also choosing which, because I had about 4 or 5 albums worth of tunes because of the huge amount of writing I'd done by myself and also jamming with the other guys. It kind of distilled something, I think. And so finding a real identity and finding something that was actually close to me, It's my mate Trin, actually, does all my design work, does all the album covers and the logo, and he used to call me Leto. He's from the north.
So the bio mentions the musical similarities to Dury and influences of the Beatles through a list of 90s electronic acts such as Orbital and Left Field. Can you elaborate on that? That's obviously what you listen to and that kind of thing. How do you sort of meld that all together into the sound of Leto Grand?
Yeah, in a way, I'm really not sure, because I've had a tendency to listen to like these days. I listen to people like Bicep as well. I went out clubbing to Left Field the other week at Drum Sheds and had a fantastic time. But my own musical journey, I think, has deeper roots than that. I think growing up, learning clarinet and saxophones, and then playing in, learning classical and jazz music to start with, and then getting into pop and dance music. I think that's kind of informed my own sound, because you can hear elements of jazz in this track, but you can definitely hear elements of dance music. Like this track's got a real clear kind of house beat, but it's not house music. It's kind of an organic. It's an organic dance beat, but yeah, it's pop too.
I could certainly hear that you're a bit of a dance head from the track, but yeah, as you say, it isn't a dance track as such.
No, I'm not a house music artist. I enjoy listening to it. And I think, obviously, if you go back further, the roots of house music are in funk, and the roots of funk definitely is in jazz and that whole melting pot that happened in New Orleans. A lot of music stem from that.
Judging from the list of influences, I would say we're of a similar age, born in the late 70s, and, you know, you've got that obvious 90s sort of influence from when you're a teenager, and the music scene was fantastic in England in the mid-90s.
It's hard to shake off because I think about this a lot. I think we experienced unprecedented levels of freedom in the 90s. I think there was a unique... I mean, they called it 89, they called it the second summer of love, didn't they? It was pre-mobile phone, it was pre-internet, by and large. I mean, you know, the very beginnings of internet, maybe. We were going out, clubbing, dancing, listening to all sorts of music. The whole scene was like you didn't take your phone out with you because and no one was taking photos. It's quite unusual to see I mean, it's interesting seeing it now. Sometimes on YouTube, I come across it, video footage of going out clubbing and stuff. But back then, there was a whole culture of we don't take photos. That's not what this is about.
All that taken into consideration, if you had to shorten it down and pinpoint it, what genre would you put Leto Grand into?
I'd say alt pop or indie dance. Probably alternative pop, I would think.
So onto the release itself. First question, who is Grace?
In a way, I think Grace is every woman in a way. Grace is sort of she's a semi-mythical woman, isn't she? You get the line later, every move you make, it's amazing, Grace. And she's playful, she's strong. I mean, in a way, it's like Grace is kind of leading in a way. She knows her own mind. Yeah, Grace is cool.
So where did the idea for this come from? This obviously, it's something that's manifested over time. It wasn't just a sort of track you put together in one shot, was it?
No, the track's gone through quite a lot of different evolutions. There's whole sections of it, which I didn't use in the end. I used to do this job in Brixton, and I used to have to commute through Elephant and Castle, which back then was just horrible. But the horn lines came to me first, I think. The horn lines came to me, and I just remember singing them into my phone as I was walking out of Elephant and Castle Tube. Then the lyrics came, and then as I was producing the track out with Gary, then we came up with the idea of just having the dialogue at the start to kind of really set the scene. I guess Grace being such a, obviously, you know, amazing Grace, how sweet the sound. Yeah, it all kind of came together, really.
Yeah.
Do you know what? That's interesting. I haven't really thought about Elephant Castle, but that's where we've now got picked up to do a residency in London.
So back to where the first thought happened.
That's funny, isn't it? Yeah.
I read about the DIY Shed Studio, which you mentioned at the beginning. Is that where you're still doing your recording? Is that where this song began?
Yeah, it is. And actually, I ended up getting evicted from the commune, along with my other communards. It was just a beautiful time, and it came to an end, you know. We were there a good old stretch. But when I left, I actually transplanted the shed, and mates allowed me to put it up in his back garden now. And so I'm really lucky I've kind of got this little recording situation. I can rehearse my quartet in there as well. And I'm still writing and, you know, producing to demo level, I would say, in the shed.
So there's a lot of remixes for a single release. As I mentioned to you at the beginning, it feels like the 90s all over again, where you get a CD single that's got 7 tracks on it, which you just can't have these days. How did you go about getting the remixes? Was it just friends who jumped on, or have you done some of them? How have you ended up with so many versions of this?
I got this album and I didn't have an Instagram channel or anything back in March last year. I just shot a load of clips, took a load of audio clips, made these short videos for each of the clips, and I just started dropping them on Instagram. like a new Instagram channel, Leto Grand was born kind of thing. And I turned my back on it and I came back after 10 days and like all the clips off the album, they'd all had like between 10 and 30,000 hits. But Lovely Walk had way more, like more than double the rest of the others. So, and people were saying, you've got to drop this track. So I ended up kind of dropping Lovely Walk by demand, really. And then because the Instagram channel was so popular, a load of people started contacting me and saying, can I get the stems? I'd like to do a remix, you know. And so I kind of did things all the wrong way round, I have to say. You know, probably should have got the remixes done first and waited and made a music video and done everything all in the right order, but I just reacted to the situation. So a whole bunch of people got in touch and I ended up sending the stems off, and then I got these really nicely real big variations of remixes back. I really like what they've each individually done with it. They're all completely different, and like there's the Tech House Smashing It from Quimpy. Sorry, there's a kind of carnival mix off Mr. Char. It's very Notting Hill Carnival, completely like an Afrocentric kind of vibe to it. There's a kind of minimal house, quite witty off Joey. There's the Hate 80s remix, which is just completely original. I love it. It's kind of got elements of Depeche Mode in it or something, I think.
So your Bandcamp says there's an album coming. Are we to expect more of the same, or are you bouncing about all over the genres and playing with everything?
No, I think being a horn player, you'll hear kind of melodies and rhythms from my kind of odyssey through playing in all sorts of bands as a sax player. But it's all got an identity, I think. It's clearly in that alt pop genre. There's some tunes that are more dance, more down and dirty, more festival. And there's also some ballads in there. Yeah, and you probably will hear the 90s influence in there as well. Like, but the next track I'm going to release is a theme tune. It's a Leto Grand theme tune. That's going to come out at the end of April. That's not actually going to be on the rest of the album. It's a standalone. And it starts off with keys kind of straight from the 90s. You'll hear it straight away.
Sounds good. The only thing I've written after that is 6 years in the making. The album better be good.
Well, I'm really proud of it, I've got to say. And working with the producer, we really did work it. We really took our time.
What's your starting point when you're creating a track? I mean, you said with the last one, the horns came to you first while you were on the tube. Do they all start like that, or do you have different starting points? Is there a lyrical trigger sometimes? What's the sort of kick that gets you to start a new song?
Yeah, I mean, initially it was horn lines, and in the tunes that have been kind of in the making longer, it was little horn riffs and funk, and all my stuff's quite funky. But as I progressed, particularly as I started gigging out on piano and singing and playing piano at the same time, more of it started to come out of pop chord progressions, and just working those through, really. And then obviously, as soon as you got a chord progression going, it's natural then for the lyrics to flow. So sometimes if I'm just warming up, or I'm quite fortunate, I actually play some piano in my day job. I'm not going to say what it is, but sometimes stuff just comes to me, I'll be noodling about, I'll get the chord sequence, and then the lyrics will start to come. And then it's a matter really of starting to work the lyrics a bit more methodically, and, expanding them, and then cutting them all back, and then moving towards arranging it all. I mean, on almost everything, I've written all my own bass lines. It all goes in on the MIDI keyboard, using string patches, and I can play most of the horns myself. And I layer up horn sections quite quickly. But there's some fantastic guest players, because I don't play trumpet or trombone or flute. So Andy Greenall on trumpet, he's on some of the other tracks, and Pete Beachill, and they play for the BBC Concert Orchestra.
Social media next. Let's start with the amazing animated video for the track, made by Nigerian animator Rosh, who contacted you, I believe.
Yeah, Rosh contacted me on Instagram. He just said, I really like your track. I'm an animator. Give me a shout if you need anything, any work doing on it. And when we came to shoot the video after we made the release, people had sent in these lovely walks. Loads of grand audience on Instagram had started jumping on, and they were sending in loads of phone clips of them doing a lovely walk to the track. So I decided to and we had gig footage. We did a launch party in May, and that was like a bunch of grand audience turned up shouting my lyrics back at me, which is fantastic. And I'd bought this really cheap iPhone gimbal, and I was walking about London on the Underground and stuff, just walking about just like London Bridge, and you could see Tower Bridge in the background and various other places. And I thought, how are we going to put all this together? And then I was like, oh yeah, animation. Entered into this, and Rosh is pretty grassroots himself. It's amazing what he's done out there with his team, And so we were on these late night video calls, putting it all together, and we ended up setting it in Café de Paris. Bit of an iconic London venue, really, an amazing place. And he melded in the gig footage and the lovely walks that the fans had sent in, and these clips of me walking about in London. And so the people that sent the fan walks in, if they watch the video, they probably will recognise themselves walking through the animation.
So, as you've mentioned a couple of times already, you like to emphasise that you're a grassroots musician and band in your video shorts. How important is that to you, to sort of keep the control, do things your way, and be a grassroots artist?
Obviously, I'm looking to grow. I want to play. I want to gig out on as big a stage as I possibly can. It has all come from the grassroots, and I think I wanted to show people in some of my Instagram reels what that actually means in terms of the amount of work and how do you, pull a band together. How do you make a band work? How do you record stuff to good quality? But, I'm not recording in Abbey Road studios. I'm recording it all myself. How do you find other people to work with? How do you put on a gig? I think right now, keeping it indie makes sense. And also I think it's important to be able to do everything oneself. And so that if, labels are interested and other people in the industry are interested to talk to you, you're actually in a strong position because you understand various different levels of how to put things together and make things work. I think it's important to be doing those things myself.
There's a live video on YouTube of the band performing Lovely Walk. It sounds really, really tight. I mean, you obviously you rehearsed for that, but it was a one-take video, you said.
Yeah, that's right. It's a one take, yeah. Yeah, we did that at Gun Factory, which is just around the corner. We actually did two other songs. We've got a cover version of Rhythm Stick by Dury, which I'm going to release sometime this spring. And we did a track from the album called Burn in the same session. And they all come out nice and tight, and the sound quality, it was really good because the sound quality was obviously a one take as well. We just took a desk recording and got a good balance on the desk. My mate Ewan, who's DJ E-Man Boogie, works on Soho Radio, he's got a great show. He came and shot it because he's a professional cameraman. But he just came and shot it on a gimbal and walked around the room. And when we put the camera footage together with the desk audio, the mix come out pretty good. It's great to do it that way, obviously, because you've got to know what you're doing. Everyone's got to know, don't make any mistakes. But you capture how it feels actually in the room because it's camera audio.
So you've already played a few shows this year, and obviously you played quite a few last year when you released the single and a few after that. How has the reaction been live to the band? You said it was great to hear people singing back your lyrics and things, but how about the people that you didn't know before the show?
Yeah, we get a lot of good feedback after the gigs. Yeah, it's interesting. It's when we've done the more rocky gigs with guitar-led bands, those audiences really go bananas for what we do. They're dancing about, and did a gig at the Star, which was more of a kind of jazz, R&B, pop crowd. We were on very early, and they really enjoyed the tunes. Well, maybe because we were on early and I hadn't had a drink yet, maybe. They were a little bit more reserved. They weren't kind of like dancing, but they were all kind of really engaged. And then we just gigged Hastings Fat Tuesday, Mardi Gras. Last Tuesday we did 3 gigs in 3 different pubs. It was just riotous. It's fantastic. The crowd really enjoying it. It's quite a new experience. People obviously wanted to come up to me after the gig and come and talk to me and get a photo and all the rest of it, and wanting to know a bit like the questions you're asking right now. Asking me loads of questions about who do you listen to and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
It must be nice to finally get some feedback for a project that's taken you so long behind the scenes.
Yeah, that's right. It's been a real kind of labour of love. And the fact that it's out there now and people are really starting to respond. But also just watching people just have a good time and really enjoy it and have a load of fun as well.
So what's the plan with future live shows? Is the plan to play as much as possible or to focus on the album promo? I assume you're not going to give me a date for the album release now, are you?
No, because the album I think we'll have to do the next couple of singles, which are not on the album, and then the album will drop one single at a time. That'll sort of have its own natural cycle, really, depending on how each release does. But I mean, it's been quite a long wait for people, I think, after dropping Lovely Walk, kind of getting myself together to be able to put the rest of everything out. It all takes so much time because it's only me doing it. I don't have like a PR team or a label or anyone running about doing all that stuff for me. I've got to do it myself. But I think probably releasing once every 2 or 3 months, that'll be the right kind of pace for it to actually do each release justice. I think having the Elephant and Castle residency, that's where my focus will be for now. I'm getting in like about 50 people in Bristol on Instagram have asked me, keep asking me, come and gig in Bristol. But finding a way to take a 7-piece all the way to Bristol, stay overnight, because that's what you've got to do. I need to find some money for everybody. Can't just expect people to do it for nothing, going all the way down there. Finding a venue and finding an audience, it's not so easy to just pull that off without spending a load of money on it.
So the final question, what are you listening to at the moment that people may not be aware of and should take some time to check out?
Do you know what I'm listening to right now? I'm listening to Leto Grand radio on Spotify, and it's so interesting to hear what the Spotify algorithm is lumping us in with, because that's obviously based on my listeners' tastes, and so that's quite an education.
So, for anyone wishing to find out more about Leto Grand, there's your website, letogrand.com, and you're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Bandcamp, and YouTube. The many versions of Lovely Walk, which are all worth checking out, are now on Bandcamp and all streaming services. Leto, great to find out a bit more. Really excited to hear some new songs soon. And thanks for joining me.
All right, thanks very much, Daniel. Thanks a lot. Been a pleasure.